Have you ever wondered what really happened after slavery was officially abolished in the United States? What if forced labor did not disappear, but simply changed its name and system? In this video, we will explore the dark history of convict leasing, a system that allowed prisoners to be rented out for labor under brutal conditions. How did it begin? Who benefited? And what were its long-term consequences? Stay with me until the end to understand this powerful chapter of history, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep historical insights like this. 1. The origins after the Civil War. Convict leasing emerged in the southern United States during the Reconstruction era following the Civil War. After slavery was abolished, Southern economies faced labor shortages and financial instability. State governments also struggled with limited revenue and overcrowded prisons. Instead of maintaining prisoners at public expense, officials began leasing them to private companies for labor. Businesses paid the state a fee and assumed control over housing, feeding, and supervising inmates. 2. Targeting freed African Americans. Although convict leasing applied to prisoners in general, it disproportionately affected newly freed African Americans. After emancipation, many Southern states passed laws known as Black Codes that criminalized minor offenses such as vagrancy or unemployment. These laws were enforced aggressively against Black communities. As a result, thousands of African American men were arrested for trivial or fabricated charges. 3. Brutal working conditions. Prisoners under convict leasing endured extremely harsh treatment. Private companies prioritized profit and had little incentive to protect the health or safety of leased laborers. Unlike slave owners before the Civil War, lessees had no long-term financial interest in preserving workers' lives. Prisoners were often forced to work long hours in dangerous environments such as coal mines and turpentine camps. Physical punishment was common, and living conditions were overcrowded and unsanitary. 4. Economic incentives for states and businesses. Convict leasing generated significant revenue for state governments. Fees paid by private companies became an important source of funding for public budgets. In some states, the income from leasing prisoners covered a large portion of prison-related expenses. For businesses, the system provided cheap and easily replaceable labor, increasing profitability. Industries such as mining, farming, and railroad construction relied heavily on leased convicts. 5. Legal justification and the 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery, but included an exception, allowing involuntary servitude as punishment for a crime. Southern states used this clause to justify forced labor under convict leasing. By criminalizing certain behaviors and enforcing laws selectively, authorities ensured a steady supply of prisoners. The legal framework gave the appearance of legitimacy to what was essentially coerced labor. Courts rarely intervened to protect prisoners' rights during this period. 6. Public criticism and reform efforts. Over time, reports of abuse and high death rates sparked public outrage. Journalists, religious leaders, and reform advocates exposed the harsh realities faced by leased convicts. Investigations revealed severe mistreatment and corruption within the system. As awareness grew, pressure mounted on state governments to reform prison labor practices. Some states began implementing stricter oversight or gradually ending leasing contracts. Public opinion shifted as citizens recognized the moral and humanitarian issues involved. 7. The end of convict leasing. By the early 20th century, most states had officially ended convict leasing. Changes in public sentiment, economic conditions, and political leadership contributed to its decline. However, the end of leasing did not eliminate forced prison labor entirely. Many states replaced it with chain gangs and state-run prison farms. While these systems operated differently, they often continued patterns of racial inequality and harsh conditions. 8. Long-term social impact. Convict leasing had lasting consequences for African American communities and the broader society. It reinforced racial discrimination and economic inequality during the Reconstruction era and beyond. Families were separated, as men were imprisoned and sent to distant labor camps. Communities faced fear and instability due to arbitrary arrests. The system contributed to distrust in law enforcement and judicial institutions that persisted for generations. 9. Connection to modern prison labor. The history of convict leasing influences contemporary discussions about prison labor and mass incarceration. While modern systems differ significantly, debates continue regarding fair compensation, working conditions, and racial disparities. Understanding convict leasing provides context for examining how labor and punishment have intersected historically. It raises questions about ethics, justice, and the balance between rehabilitation and exploitation. Studying this past encourages critical evaluation of present-day policies. 10. Remembering and learning from history. Convict leasing represents a painful chapter in American history that followed the abolition of slavery. It demonstrates how structural inequality can adapt rather than disappear. By examining this system honestly, society can better understand the roots of ongoing challenges within the justice system. Remembering the experiences of those who endured forced labor honors their suffering and resilience. Education about convict leasing encourages accountability and awareness. The story of convict leasing reveals how freedom can be undermined when economic interests and discriminatory laws combine. It reminds us that justice requires vigilance, transparency, and moral courage. By learning about this chapter of history, we gain deeper insight into the evolution of labor and incarceration in the United States. If you found this exploration meaningful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more powerful historical discussions that uncover the truths behind the past. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.